So let's peel back the layers to get to where we're at today. And to begin that, you mentioned Austin, and one of the things that exploded that area was kind of during COVID, people moved there. So I'm curious, how did you survive that COVID time period, and how has it influenced and changed the way that you live life now?
That's a really great question. So during COVID, I was an insurance agent, property and casualty insurance agent, and lucky for me, COVID work-wise didn't affect me very much. Matter of fact, I think I may have done a little bit better during COVID because the reality of it is there were a lot of people that were affected financially. And so a lot of people, like one of the ways that they could cut back on their expenses was to lower their auto insurance or shop their auto insurance around or, things like that. And so um, we definitely were financially okay during that time. But the reason I want to bring that up is because for me, financially, it was good, but mentally, it was very, very bad.
Yeah.
And I do believe that some of that has kind of carried over with me, and I think that's true for a lot of people too. It's just, I'm 36 years old, and I've been born and raised in New York. I've been through 9/11. I've been through, and it's like we've been through a lot of these things. I think that millennial generation, right? And it just kind of feels like it's one thing after the next, but being stuck inside. Luckily, we are living in Texas, so it wasn't as strict as, I mean, my family in New York, right?
Yeah.
And so we did have some more freedoms, but mentally, it really threw me for a loop. Um, just not being able to be around people. I'm a talker. I'm someone that loves to like workshop with other people and, bounce ideas around and then just kind of being there with my husband and my son 24/7. You run out of things to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I feel like a lot, but what it did teach me to kind of that I've, let me say it this way, what it did teach me that I've now brought with me every step of the way is like that resilience.
Yeah.
It is, again, kind of bringing, this whole thought full, oh my goodness, it's still early for me. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're
Bringing
good.
this whole thought full circle. Um, Everything does happen for a reason, right? And I think during that time, because I was working so much, it kind of started my burnout period as well. I think during COVID, I was working kind of around the clock as an insurance agent. People are calling me at all hours of the night, weekends. And I think that was the beginning of my burnout period,
Yeah.
which then in 2022 led me to quit being an insurance agent and go into the tech industry. I'm not sure if you're familiar what happened like in the tech industry in 2022, but coming from a 3-year long career in insurance where I was one of the top producers and never missed my quota and thinking I'm making a good life move, 8 months later, I'm part of the tech layoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was tough,
Yeah.
right? But that actually gave me the pause that I needed to think about what I wanted to do with my life. And when I kind of looked at the common trends and things that I was interested in, that brought me to like a version of a business advisor.
Yeah.
People have kind of always asked me, how do you grow your referral partner network? How do you hit these KPIs? And I love helping other people. My background is in education.
Yeah.
Um, And so that gave me enough pause to try to figure out what I want to be when I grew up. And so, I know that everybody and their mom is pretty much a business advisor these days. And so, what we eventually landed on is the fact that I'm basically this business advisor, but has the manpower to execute the plans. And that is my outsourcing company.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do to kind of get to the marrow of what you do on a daily basis. And to do that, I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day. And being in education and loving it, this should be native. One of the kids is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer him?
God, I feel can I tell you why I'm having like palpitations right now? It's because I also taught dance for a very long time to little kids. And the way that I would explain it to a little kid, it would be very different than the way I would
Yeah.
explain it to a business owner. Um, but if I had to say like what it is that I do, essentially I meet with different people, business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, your serial entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it, right? And I literally start back at the very beginning. I want to know about their why. I want to know how they make decisions. I want to know why they started the business, because for me, that unlocks a lot of who they are, how they think.
Yeah.
And that allows me to then start putting a plan together on who I'm going to match them with. Okay. So I start at the beginning, and we have a very detailed like discovery process where I learn about their business, their pain points, short term, long term goals, their current tech stack, their team size, who does what roles, their management style, right? So I just kind of go through this whole process with them. Ultimately, we're figuring out where we can make the most impact in their business,
Yeah.
right? And then from there, we come up with this, based off of their pain points. I would say specifically pain points, short term and long term goals. We're coming up with a game plan on how we can achieve some of those. And then we're hiring somebody that lives overseas. That's for the third grader. We're hiring someone that lives overseas to basically help that person accomplish those tasks, help
So,
them get.
yeah, no, that makes total sense. So, what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Great question, Joe. So back in the day, I was the kid that was teaching my stuffed animals math and science, and right. So I did want to be a teacher back in the day, but it was halfway through my junior year of college when my mom and I are sitting in the kitchen, and she goes, "Are you sure you want to be a teacher?" I was like, "Yeah, I've always wanted to be a teacher." And she goes, "Okay, I just want to make sure." I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "Well, I've always kind of pushed you in that direction. So I just want to make sure that's really something you want to do." Cue the downward spiral. That
Yeah.
was it. That
Oh,
I was like, "Oh no.
yeah.
Is it me that wants to be a teacher, or was it my parents that want to be a teacher?" And again, I needed a lot of like self-reflection. And ultimately, it's funny because I have this whole other story, which I'd be happy to tell you, but
Sure.
I ended up dropping the education major after halfway through my junior year. I graduated with an earth science degree, a minor in dance. I am a true right brain, left brain kind of person.
Yeah.
I love the math, the numbers, making it work, but I also love being creative in that way. Um, but, fast forward, and I was doing sales for a med spa on Long Island. And we had a Reiki master come in, and she has angel cards, which are like tarot cards, but they're of the light.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it works the same way where like you're cutting the deck, you're shuffling, you're focusing your energy on the deck, and you're going to ask it a question. And so as I'm graduated, just working the front desk, I'm like, what am I meant to do with my life? Please tell me what I'm meant to do with my life. And I don't know if you've ever done tarot cards or angel cards, but it's not a normal size deck. It's
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 regular decks,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
it's like this big.
Yeah.
And Joe, what is the one card that I pick out? Any guesses?
Was it has to have something to do with education, being a
Be an
teacher?
educator.
Yeah. Yeah.
It says be an educator. And I immediately start crying. And she's like, "What? What's wrong?" And I was like, "I don't want to be a teacher." And that's when she said, "That's not what it says. It says, be an educator." She goes, "Don't you teach dance?" Yeah. "Well, you're educating
Yeah.
youth in the art of dance. You could be a public speaker. You could do, Jenna, it does not say be a teacher. It just says, like, whatever you do in life, let there be a component of education."
Yeah.
And that was something I could get behind. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what, I mean, my entire sales journey has just been about educating people.
Yeah.
Why was I one of the top insurance agents? Well, because I explained it to people. I educated people on what they were purchasing and what
Yep.
they needed versus what they didn't need. And, it's like that has taken me so far, just keeping that in the back of my mind of like, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to educate others.
So, who's been a hero? Who's been an inspiration for you in your career?
A lot of people, a lot of people. And I'll tell you why, because I'm a storyteller, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Um, Way back when, in my dance studio, my ballet teacher said, "There's always going to be someone that does something bigger and better than you. So find it, adopt it, and make it your own.
Yeah.
So the heroes for me, I can't even pinpoint because it was like my dance teachers, my earth science teacher who I stayed after school one day to like literally ask me if I could help tutor the class. This wasn't for extra credit. This is because I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
and and she changed my life when I was up at the projector screen. I don't know if you remember that from back in the day. Like you had like, it's almost like a whiteboard, right?
Yep.
But it would project it up.
Uh-huh.
And we were going over a chart. And I said, well, it's just like an X and Y chart, right? And I said, well, obviously, if you just go here and up, boop, there you go. And she goes, "Oh, Jenna, can you come here? Can I talk to you for a sec?" Like, yeah, what's up? And she goes, "What might be obvious to you may not be obvious to somebody else. So we try to shy away from using the word obvious because we don't want people to feel down on themselves. Like,
Yeah.
why don't I understand it? Why does she understand it?" It's little things like that. My manager at Victoria's Secret, I used to work behind the scenes, and like I would put those little sensor tags
Yeah.
on items, and she came into the back room and was like, "Oh my goodness," because we had racks of clothes everywhere, and she goes, "Jenna, would you mind taking this guy and popping it over there?" "I'll take whatever guy you want, pop it wherever you want. I'll do it 20 more times if you ask like that."
Yeah. Right.
Right? I never use the word obviously. I I don't say like move these things. I say, can we pop it from here to there? I take inanimate objects and call them guys. Like I have had so many heroes in my life that just have molded the person that I am.
So if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find fascinating or interesting, spend some time with them, and it may help you in your occupation or just in general to see the world in a different way. Who would that be?
I really don't know. I really don't, and I'll
Okay.
tell you why. I'll
Sure.
tell you why I don't know. Um, I feel like over the course of the last, we'll say about 5 years, I feel like I have changed so much.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm 36. I really started noticing this shift, this change in me, 34 going on 35, where I, was like, I'm going to start setting boundaries. I'm going to start being truer to myself. And with that has just kind of come like this brand new lens that I'm looking through. And I'm still trying to figure out a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't even pinpoint one person right now because I feel like my brain is kind of all over the place these days.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like I have all cylinders are firing,
Yeah.
right? And like I want to meet someone that I can travel with. Like, I mean, famous person I can learn from. Yes, like we get it. But like I want someone that can show me the world and teach me different things and have me walk in the footsteps of other people. And so I don't know who that person is. Like maybe it's someone like inspirational, like Jay Shetty or I don't know. I mean, Stephen Colbert is pretty cool.
Yep.
He's real cool. I like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't pinpoint like a single person at this point.
That's a great answer though. That's an answer in itself. So let me ask you this. What is your motivation every day to wake up to do this work? You have to give a lot of yourself to kind of create this collaborative networking environment, but you also have to evolve as a human being. So what is that collective energy every day for you?
Yeah, the thing that makes me want to get up out of bed every day is the fact that I love to help people
Yeah.
in general. That could literally mean something as minute as, hey, let me show you this new AI tool that I found that is going to make your life a lot easier. Or if someone has, a business idea that they want to run by me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we could do this for marketing, that for marketing. What if you did something like this? Like I love workshopping with people. But on the flip side, I know I said before, like, I want it to be like a business advisor, but I also really have like a strong desire to also go like the life coach route as well. Because for me, I want to be able to help people, not just in their business and financially, but also personally and help with growth. I will say with that, I am that prime example of I can dish out advice all day long, but not take my own advice. I need other people to be able to do that for me. Um, but that's kind of what gets me up out of bed every day is, knowing that I'm going to talk with a new business owner. I'm literally going to change their lives. The feedback that I get because of how we run things in my business, it's a relationship based outsourcing company where I'm sure there's a dime a dozen VA companies at this point, and everyone is saying, you can get someone to do this work for you for $9 an hour, like just all the stuff that you don't like. But it's so impersonal. And kind of going back to the leaders and the people and my heroes and all of that, there's a reason why I wanted to go above and beyond for those people in my life. And it was because of the relationships that we had.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've carried that over into my business, building relationships with your virtual assistant, not just offloading these mundane tasks. Right. So that's kind of what gets me up and gets me going in the morning, knowing that I'll be able to make an impact in someone's life one way or another. And to be honest, this is just like, this is being completely honest and blunt about it. I love the fact that I can give the advice and somebody else can execute it. And I don't have to do all of the work myself.
Yeah.
Like it's a really sweet setup. I'm not going to lie. I get to go in there, we make the plans, but I'm only one person. So having this, team of people overseas to be able to execute those plans, it makes me really happy when I see these things come to fruition.
So you've gone through quite a journey geographically and personally and in your career. If you were to have a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
God, lots of things, lots of things. The first one being what you think is your biggest character flaw is your greatest superpower. That's number one. Um, Growing up in New York, I was always taught, like, or not taught, but told, you have to toughen up. You have to get thicker skin. You're too emotional, which they're not wrong. They're not wrong. But, I felt really terrible about that, right? Like I was looking inward, being like, what is wrong with me? And the second I moved out of New York and met different breeds of people, that wasn't the case anymore. And it was, this was my greatest superpower, the ability to connect with people on that emotional level, right? That's number one. Number two would be travel more, find ways to travel more. I have such a desire. I mean, I am neurodivergent. I've got ADHD, and that's a big thing too that I was diagnosed later in life. And I've always just kind of been like, okay, I've dominated this career path or whatever, on to the next, on to the next. And I didn't realize what that was, but the travel thing is connected to that, where I always want a change of scenery,
Yeah.
right? Like I've been in my house now for 8 years and I'm itching to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So remember that what you think is a weakness is your greatest superpower. Travel more and start setting boundaries earlier in life because you are worth it. And you'd be shocked at how long someone will wait for you.
So of all of these things that you've done and accomplished and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
Great question. I'm super proud that I have a child that knows how awesome he is. It's we're all not perfect. We all try our hardest, but I tell him every single day, even through some of the flaws that he has, I'm like, you understand how smart you are, right? You understand how talented you are, right? And he's like, yeah, mom, I do. I'm super proud that I have a son that understands how amazing he is. I'm super proud of my relationship with my husband. Um, Growing up in a not so happy household, it taught me what to look for in a life partner. And I will tell you, my husband is my best friend. Like, I nailed it. Like, so successfully got married. And, it's like I see some other relationships and I'm like, dang, I wish I could just give you some of my love,
Yeah.
but it taught me what to look for in a partner. And he checks every box of mine. Um, and I'm really, really proud. I think I've always known from a younger age that I have an entrepreneurial brain. And I'm really proud that I finally took the step and did it my way.
Yeah.
Because one of my lines that I tell people all the time is I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but there is a bigger and better way to do things. And I was met with so much resistance over the years of like, hey, let's do things this way. No, that's not how we do it. I know, but this could really work. No, Jenna, we're not doing it that way. Well, now I have my own business and we do everything my way. And everything is going amazing.
So everyone has a perception of you out there, family, friends, clients, everyone that you know, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Joe, you ask a lot of really hard questions. A lot of like, I do a lot of self-reflecting and I find myself getting stumped with your questions. Who do I think I am? I'll be honest with you. I know that again, kind of, and this is not meant to be like a boo hoo, oh, woe is me type thing, but growing up in the environment that I did, I was one of those people that needed to read the room and be able to shift to what I needed to be in that moment. Like,
Yeah.
do I have to be super sweet? Do I have to be cautious? Do I have to be, what like stern or whatever it is? And so I know that internally I am like a master of disguise,
Yeah.
which is a good and a bad thing, right? But I also know that starting, like I said, 34, 35 years old, I'm truly coming into myself. And so, like, ask me that question, I think, again, maybe in another 2 to 3 years, and I'll have a much better answer for you because I'm just starting to really learn who I am. And, I know all the things I'm good at, and I know all the things that I'm flawed at, right? But I feel like I've always kind of been something for other people and just recently started doing things for me. And it's a learning process for sure.
What do you miss the most about New York?
The food.
Yeah, of course.
That and that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I miss being able to go to the beach. But we've got in Austin, we've got Galveston, South Padre
Yeah.
Island, we got all these really great places. And yeah, it's like a, 4 to 6 hour drive away. It's not the 10-15 minute drive that I'm used to. But really, the one thing that New York has got over everyone is the food. Chinese food. I can't find a good place here. But yeah, I miss the cuisine.
Yeah.
If I could just like pay people, my dad does. He ships bagels to us,
Yeah.
onion rolls. They ship things to us because we miss it.
Yeah, for sure, as they should. So let me ask you this. I got to tell you, my dad was born in Brooklyn and raised in Long Island, and my aunt and uncle had a pastry shop. And my dad would always swear that he was going to bring a box home to us. And on the way to the airport to LaGuardia, he would eat the whole box and have a stomach ache the whole way back to Kansas City. Happened every time.
No.
Oh yeah, he would destroy it. He would have like just powdered sugar all over him, and just like it was over with. He couldn't take it.
You
I mean,
know
there was
what? I would be
cannoli.
so mad, but I would be so mad if I were you, but I completely understand.
Yeah, I did.
Like
I did.
I
He
get it. I get it. And what was do you know what part of Long Island that they had the
it was
pastry
in
shop?
Massapequa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep. Nassau
Babylon.
County.
How does that work? It's like it's Babylon, it's Massapequa. Is it a county thing? How does that work?
So Long Island is basically divided into Nassau County, which is closer to the city, and Suffolk County, like halfway out to
Gotcha.
Montauk, the
Okay.
end.
Okay.
And actually, my husband and I used to live in Babylon. We
Okay.
used to live like when we got married, we were right above a bar. It was the best setup in the world
Yeah.
until I got pregnant and couldn't go down to the bar. And then,
Yeah.
they had people come play at the bar and our entire apartment was shaking. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done.
Nope. Nope.
but
Can't do it.
but I loved our life there, man. Like it
Yeah.
was amazing.
It was fun. Yeah, my cousin was kind of a rebel, and I remember her taking me to the village the first time that just a kid from Kansas City, and took me to see the city. And that was before the Twin Towers. It was in 96. So I remember just
Yeah,
standing there being like, wow, like the whole
in
thing.
awe.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a great town. So,
You still feel like that. You
oh
still,
my God.
it's like you might have gained a couple of feet as an adult now, right? But every time I go into the city, like you have to crane your neck all the way back,
Oh,
and it's breathtaking.
yeah, it's crazy. It was the first time that I saw like it was like night in the city because there's so many buildings and it just eclipses the sun. It's just a weird phenomenon.
Yes. Yeah. And you walk outside and you're like, oh my God, it's still daytime.
I
And then
know.
you have to look straight up. You're like, oh, it's pitch black out.
Uh-huh.
But that, I mean, that's why it's city that never sleeps,
That's
right?
right.
Like it's just, there's so many lights going on there that you walk outside at nighttime and you're like, oh, it's definitely still daytime.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing place.
It
So
is.
if anyone wants to hire you, reach out, learn more about what you're doing, any of the good business, where they go.
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Jenna Hatch, but the best way to book directly with me is going to be through our website, which is projectoutsource.co. And then you can find me on all the social media platforms. The handle is Jenna M. Hatch. And pretty soon, by the time people listen, it might already be up there. We're going to have some freebies on the website as well to help you in your journey if you want to hire a virtual assistant, to kind of get that multiplicative effect in your business. So there should be some freebies going up there soon.
Okay, Jenna, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. It's great to meet you. Continued success.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care.